right now, there's nothing more fitting than you and I sitting with a microphone right now, because opposite us is a man from the music industry. We're talking rap, hip hop, freestyle.
Oh, yeah.
This man knows his music, and we're very, very lucky and blessed to have him. Kayo Marbilus, welcome to the Dos and D Show.
Thank you very much. Welcome to be here. No, happy to be
Happy to be here.
Thanks, mate. We can start again if you want.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Love it,
Welcome
man.
to be here. Happy to be here. It's all the same thing, really.
Mate, we are rapt to have you. We've only just connected, so really I think we want to hear your story a little bit and then we'll dive into some questions. But give us a little bit of your background.
Well, what do you want to know? I mean, I'm originally from Canberra. I got a new phrase. I say Canberra City's own, but it's Melbourne though, because I'm always going to represent Canberra because, Canberra's the underdog city where I come from. So I've always got to, represent Canberra. It made me who I am today. Born in Ghana, raised in Canberra, lived in Canberra for like 32 years. If not give or take, probably a bit more. And everything I learnt was from that small town. Recording artist, songwriter, co-producer. Done a little bit of acting. And just been pushing away over the last couple of years. Just been chipping away, working on my craft. As we spoke on before with you boys, work on your craft with your podcast and stuff that you guys do. It's all about taking baby steps, with anything you do in life, whether it's like your podcast, entertainment stuff, music, sports, you want to be a builder, you want to, own your own business, whatever it is, it all just takes time. It's always good to have the finished product in your mind, have that goal. It's all about manifesting, right? So if you have, like, for example, an end goal, having that end goal and what you want to achieve, it's like a rope. The rope's on the other side of that goal, and you're going to be slowly pulling yourself to it by just you like that little metaphor or whatever I use?
I love it.
Yeah, like you're just pretty much slowly pulling yourself, because without the end goal of what you want to do, you pretty much just lost. So that's what I did for the last 15 years, and that was just me just chipping away, putting out music bit by bit here and there, and then it's funny when you look back on when you're actually doing the job and actually slowly chipping away and working on your craft. I don't think you take enough time to celebrate those little moments. And I've read on many podcasts and TV shows that it's important to celebrate those little achievements as you go, because it's part of the journey. It's the fun part of it. It's like enjoying it while you're going there, on the way there. But when you look back a couple of years, and you boys do the same thing as well, when you look back, you're like, shit, we've actually done a lot.
Yeah.
You're like, I've actually done a lot, because you start hitting all these little milestones, right? Then you hit the real big milestone, you hit that real big thing, and then you'd be like, oh, where did this come from? But then you pause and go, hang on a sec, we did this time, we did so many things over the years, and then it starts to make sense. So the term hard work pays off and all that kind of stuff, and that's, it all comes into shape and form. So that's what I've been doing really for the last 15 years. And I had the same thing happen to me. Like, I moved to Melbourne from Canberra 3.5 years ago, and moving to Melbourne was going to be the pinnacle, was going to be the big thing, because I knew I had achieved all these things from Canberra. So I knew once I moved to Melbourne, it'd be a different type of vibe and energy. And that's what I'm pretty much doing now. I mean, we had lockdown for 1.5 years, but I still spent that time, like you guys were telling me before, you just got pretty much created from lockdown.
Yeah.
I did the same similar thing where I made a lot of big connections from lockdown. I took my time to just, I'm not a reporter or an interviewer, but I just did the same similar thing. I just jumped on my Instagram and messaged a whole bunch of people and said, hey, because they're on lockdown too. So I said, let's have some video chats and stuff. I did that with a whole bunch of people as well. So I just kept myself busy some way or another. And now that we're like, a year and a bit out of lockdown, it's been a year and a bit, I think. Yeah. I'm just now slowly getting back into it, getting back into the groove, getting back into the zone. And it feels like I'm moving to Melbourne all over again. Because the saying goes that every day you wake up and you appreciate, like every day like it's new, you get more and more blessings, because you have that, like that appreciation. Yeah. Or there's a term for it in that kind of
gratitude.
Gratitude, yes.
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. The law of attraction, the law of vibration. The more gratitude you have, you feel good, and it gives you more and more and more. So I've been for 3.5 years, and I still have my pinch me moments still, and I go, fuck, I can't believe can we swear on here?
Yeah.
Mate,
okay,
yeah.
Yeah. Fucking oath.
We actually last week we've got a bit of backlash for the amount of swearing from
really?
last week's podcast, but we'll talk about that later. So go for it, Kayo.
Yeah. I'm not much of a swearer. I try not to swear, because I actually find swearing.
Just bring that mic a little bit closer. Yeah.
I find swearing only appropriate if it's if it doesn't sound stupid, if it's intelligence. If you just swear for the sake of swearing, after a while you sound like a dickhead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Sound like an Aussie bogan.
Yeah, I'd say sound like a booner, like a like a gronk, you know. So I've lost my train of thought, but yeah, man. That's
what? All right. So 15 years. What has been probably, you mentioned like you have the small wins for you, like when you look back now, what is like your most probably proud achievement starting from poetry and then working your way up into the music industry? What do you think is your proudest moment?
the one moment, you reckon? A few
maybe
little
a few,
ones?
yeah.
A few, because I was explaining before the little achievements along the way. So what I learned was one thing I promised myself was, as long as I have done one thing over 12 months, that's enough to go, oh, that's a cool achievement. It's enough for me to keep going the year after. That was a little promise I made to myself early on in that time, subconsciously and consciously as well. And, you know, from the age of 15 to like, 21, I just writing poetry, writing lyrics. And a lot of it is rubbish, you know, to be honest with you. It's all just, I find it just programming the brain, the mind. Just like a sports person, you need to train. You need to, anything you want to do, you need to work on it. You want to become a doctor, you got to go to university and you got to train, you got to study. So with what I was doing from 15 to 21, the lyrics from back then I find to be like, pretty basic stuff. But I was training myself to be better and better and better. And even I was telling you guys off camera before, even 15, 20 years later, I'm still getting better and changing. So when I got to about 21 and I started putting out music, what I found that happened was, from as soon as I started putting out music, something would happen. As in, so when I first started recording, I recorded my music at a friend's house. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but like recording from like a computer and a little PC microphone the size of this, like just a piece of shit PC microphone. Yeah. But that's all I had to work with. So I'm like, let's just do it. So I recorded like, a couple of tracks, nothing special, not the best, but it was all right. I was like 21. Did the same thing, slung the CDs out, posted them to a few places, and I ended up getting some of the songs on this thing called Fuel Channel. If you know, it's called Fuel Channel. No, it was, back in the day, it was like a extreme sports thing, and I just posted them. They ended up putting the songs in. I was like, my songs aren't even that freaking good. So that was that, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm onto something good then. Like if it's gotten on there, we'll give it a crack. So then years went by. 2007. 2008, I did a thing called, I recorded a project called Canberra Stand Up the Mixtape. So we did like 19 songs. And once again, I sent the songs out. This one I made hard copies. I pressed 1,000 copies. It cost me like a freaking arm and a leg, but I had to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up sending some of the CDs out to a few various places, and I ended up getting on, Howzo's and Fat Pizza.
Yeah, I love Howzo's. Great show.
Yeah, on SBS. So same thing. Ended up getting my songs on there on freaking TV. And this is like, I'm still in my early stages of really pushing this stuff, yeah? So I was like, fuck, this is amazing. So I did that, and then I got paid for it as well. And then, so that was a time in my life I was like, okay, cool. So I'm putting out music. Everyone's starting to kind of like get to know who I am. I had a launch for that album, for that mixtape as well, at the ANU bar in Canberra, like the ANU, the university, the ANU bar.
Oh,
there.
yep.
Packed it out, probably maybe 500 people. I don't know.
What was the lyrics about? What were we rapping about? Were they university appropriate or?
No, not really. It's funny. The funny thing is, as far back as then and even now, I've always tried to, when I write poetry, when I put out music, to try and keep it like not much swearing in there.
Sure.
I'm telling a story, and I'm telling stories of things that I've done that are pretty dodgy, but I'm not. It's kind of like in code.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I'm trying to push to an audience that your mum and dad can listen to the music.
Yeah, broader demographic.
Demographic, and I did that, and I've done that from then to this day. I still do it now, and that's the reason why I've got such a big audience, because I got people who are young and old who love my music. Because I'm not your typical standard rapper where they go shooting my bang bang or fucking smoking bongs or blah 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 or selling drugs, like talking about certain stuff in that aspect. But you've got to really listen to the lyrics and be like, oh, okay, I get what he's saying. You know what I mean? So I did that, and then so that was that, and then 2012 when it was really hit. 2010, I did another project, another 10-track EP. I called it an EP, but really it should have been an album. I think it was an album, really, because EPs are only really like 4 or 5 songs, but it's pretty much an album. And once again, those songs from that city went on some TV shows as well. And the things went really quiet for a little bit there. I was just putting out songs. And I was just like, whatever, you know. And then 2012, I dropped another album, which was called The Raconteur, which is French for one who tells a story with great skill. I was watching, what was I watching? It might have been Cocaine Cowboys or some show, because Cocaine Cowboys in the first, I don't even know if Cocaine Cowboys even came out then, but I read it somewhere and I was like, that sounds really powerful. So my second album was called The Raconteur, which means it's French for one who tells a story with great skill. And that came out end of 2012. And that was the first time I got my songs on one of my songs on proper like radio, like it's called Raw FM.
Okay.
You guys heard of Raw FM?
Yeah.
So I got it on Raw FM, and the song was called I Will. And then that same year, I dropped my first music video, my songs on radio, and it's starting to pick up a bit of a buzz around Canberra. Everyone's like, fuck, I've seen your music video, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that was when I really started spiritually feeling like, yeah, there hasn't been, you have many sleepless nights wondering if you're doing the right thing, right? As you guys would know, am I doing the right thing? Am I wasting my time? But then after that situation, the end of 2012, I was like, I'm on the right path here. Like, you can't go fucking wrong. The universe is throwing the things at you, right?
Yeah.
And then done that. Oh, and also that same year, that December, that same year, Canberra had created a music awards called the Mamas. So 2012, 2013.
How many mamas did you get in your head?
Well, if you know me, you know I like the older woman.
Oh,
so
really?
So do I.
Everyone knows. So hey, if you're in your 40s or 50s, hit me up, man, because I do my thing.
Yeah. Well done, Kayo.
Yeah, it was called the Mamas, and it's an acronym for something.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called.
So.
The Mamas. Yeah, it's an acronym. It's an acronym for something. And long story short, I got nominated Urban Artist of the Year. I won it. All my friends came to the freaking awards thing, and if you know Canberra very well, Canberra is very conservative.
Yeah.
So one thing I didn't add before was came from a small town, which is bad enough, Canberra, but a conservative city where people aren't going to take you serious unless you're doing something freaking big. Like so from 2004 up to 2012, I was putting out music.
Doing what you were doing was different compared to anyone else in that city.
100%. And there was other artists as well, don't get me wrong. And this is the other challenge that I had was there was other artists in Canberra doing what I'm doing, artists that I knew, like friends, artists who I kind of grew up with, and people just start hating on you.
Yeah.
Like there's so many stories I could tell you, like all the odds were against me within the environment, you know. And as I say this, I love Canberra. I'm always going to rep Canberra. Like shout out to Canberra City, of course. Like it made me who I was. It made me hustle and really just be hungry, you know. But the awards night was really cool. The awards night was at Albert Hall? Real swanky place, right? And there's all types of, heads there. And the pinnacle moment of that evening was I had been doing this music for a long time. A lot of my friends that came to the awards night, had known me. I had been there since, the late 90s or the early 2000s. I went to school with these boys. Like they've watched me pretty much from the start.
Wow.
So for me to get nominated, and it's a packed place. I'm wearing a suit, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, the winner of the ACT Urban Artist of the Year award goes to Kayo Marbilus. Like, it's just freaking it's like I had an out-of-body experience. It's freaking weird. It's crazy. Got up there, made a speech. So that was a pinnacle time. And then from 2013 onwards, same things, putting out music here and there, this and that, but still promoting myself as a brand. Then the big thing hit was 2017. And what I'm about to and the stories and the chain of events I'm about to explain to you guys now is what made me just go, psh, I got to fucking move to Melbourne. Like the universe is the universe is smashed me in the head saying this is now, yeah. So 2017, I got a phone call from a Sydney producer, but a TV director called George Basher, who did a movie back in the day called The Combination. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. No. It was ahead of its time. Some actors from Underbelly were on it. The original ones from back in the day were on it, and I always wanted to be in this movie. And I first watched the movie when it came out in 2009, and it was about Western Sydney Lebanese gang culture, which is still prevalent like in this day and age, right? And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I was like, I love to be in this movie one day. This is 2009. I watched it, and I was like, fuck, I love to be in this movie one day. Like, I just feel like I want to be in a movie. and I just befriended him on Facebook, became friends, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he hits me up on Facebook. He's like, hey, bro, what's your number? Oh, call me. This is my number, blah, blah, blah. I called him and he's like, oh, I got a role for you in the movie.
Wow.
I was like, what the hell? He's like, you got to come. He rang me on the Saturday. He goes, you got to come next Friday. So from Canberra to Sydney, it's like 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive. I had to be there about 9 o'clock in the morning. So long story short, I went up there, did my little scene, and I was like, oh, this is freaking amazing. And then that same year, so that happened like 2017, I think 2017, and then that couple of months later, I went to 2018, and then I ended up, coming to Melbourne to do to the Peninsula Film Festival.
Okay.
Shout out to Steve Bastoni for getting me on the Peninsula Film Festival, and similar thing. For people like that, it wouldn't be a big deal for him, but for me, it was like I've looked up to these actors and stuff when I was a kid, and it's like, who am I? Like, but it's the universe talking to me and saying, this is what people are seeing in you, because what people could see in me outside of Canberra, within Canberra, it was toxic, different environment.
Sure.
So that happened, and I was like, okay, cool. So in the space of like a year, I'm going to Sydney. I'm doing this movie thing. 2018, I go to the Peninsula Film Festival, meet all these people. That same year, the movie comes out that I was in. It went to cinemas Australia-wide. Then it went to DVD. And then...
hopefully Blu-ray as well.
Yeah, hopefully Blu-ray. So it was all these little things that were happening while I was in Canberra. And I was like, fuck, man. I was like, I've got to get out of here. So then 2018, that same year, because this all happened within like 6 months. It was like the movie thing. Then other celebrities, other people saying, come and hang out with us and do this and network, and then
Collaborating with other.
Yeah, collaborate with, but these people are like these are big influential like Australian actors, and I'm like, what the fuck, right? Anyways, then 2018, the biggest thing to this day was when I got approached by a producer, a director. Shout out to Mike Worsley. I got to give him a shout out to Mike Worsley because I'm still friends with him to this day. He messaged me on Facebook and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Because half the time you think, oh, it's just someone scamming you or whatever. Right? I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And he's like, we'd like to have you on Channel 7 as a judge on this TV show that's just coming out. It's called All Together Now. And I was like, oh wow. And I was laughing. And he rang me like in March, April, May, and I had seen the ad in January on TV saying there's this TV show coming out, and I was actually watching TV laughing because I was like, not another fucking music show. Yeah, sure. It's done Australian Idol, the Voice, and I was like, oh, not another one. I was like, this is weird. But they were showing the video from the UK because that's where they took it from, right? And then a couple months later, I get the phone call. I get the message from this guy saying, why don't you be on this show? And I had to be up there in about 2 weeks. So after I did the TV show thing, I was like, I've got to really like get out of town and just really start fresh and move to Melbourne. So that was those pinnacle moments. And as I've explained the story to you guys, it was like I could have stopped at any of those points because the reason why I got the phone call or the message to be on the TV show was because by the time when they rang me, they had gone through all this stuff. Like I'm like, how the fuck did you even know that? Yeah. And I knew it was the real deal because by the time he rang me or messaged me to call him, they had already gone through all my history since like 2007.
Yeah.
Gone through all my shit.
They'd done their due diligence to find the right person 100%, to be part of the show.
And what that made me, I had this pinnacle moment. I was like, I knew over the years, me doing what I was doing, I just got to keep pushing because you just don't know what's going to, and it's not for nothing. It's not in vain. So all I do, even to this day, is that with all the things that I do with my achievements, I tell people the same story. So like with you boys, with the podcast, I'm like, you just got to keep going, man. If it's a passion and you love it, something's going to give at some point. It has to. It's the law of attraction. It's the law of vibration. It's law. It's universal law. When you feel it and you project it into the goal and the mental mind and the imagination, at some point it comes to life. It has to. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I've been doing, man. And like I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm loving being in Melbourne. Melbourne's a fucking awesome place to be. I've got 3 older siblings. They're all in Sydney. Okay. And I've been in Sydney like hundreds of times. But the energy of Melbourne and Sydney is like 2 different worlds. Yeah. It's you guys probably been in Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah, we were there a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it's different. It's a nice place for me to go and visit, but I wouldn't want to live there, right? Unless I was raised there. So
well, you're in the right place for music in Australia.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
That's what everyone says.
Like,
Yeah.
like we were talking about off air, like this is such a famous city, which not a lot of people really understand, but it's such a famous city for music. And especially if you look back over literally 50 years, so much has happened in this city for music and still continues to do. You went to a gig the other night. Like every night, every corner, there's best in the world are here.
In terms of entertainment culture, like you're talking sport, art, music, like I just think, I've never lived in any other city, but so I can't go and compare it, but we do it differently.
Exactly. What I always say is that I moved here for obviously to try and to push the entertainment stuff, but really the reality is I moved here because who I am as a person. Like the one thing I noticed about Melburnians is that they're just so freaking nice. People are nice. I mean, not everyone. You got dickheads here and there, but
of course.
Well, speaking of nice, so we didn't know who Kayo was before before we reached out on Instagram, and now you wouldn't believe this. No, we'll say this. So Dawson D, were at St Kilda Festival a couple of weeks ago now on the weekend, and we were lucky. We were partnering with a brand and making some content for this company. Our good friends helping humans. Beautiful sparkling water drink. It's no sugar. It's just here. Beautiful. Kayo's got the ginger focus in his hands. I've got the lovely.
It goes with the tracksuit too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Orange.
it does.
I wish I was wearing my green t-shirt because I've got the lemon lime. And
delicious.
so we were there working for Helping Humans, and it was a great day, wasn't it?
It was a great day.
But we were filming some content, and I remember filming at one point, and this bloke walked towards us, and he just goes, "What are you boys filming?" And we're like, "Oh, we're just filming for Helping Humans." And he goes, "Oh, keep it up, lads." And he kept walking, and he was walking with a beautiful, lovely woman as well. She looked very nice, and basically,
yeah, she knows who she is. She got rid of me, so she fucked up. You missed out. Anyways, you know who you are.
She has missed out.
I've got to, just going back a little bit. What's the oldest you've gone with women?
I'm not going to say on here. That's too much information.
Not at us.
That's not too old. Not too old.
Okay.
So basically,
I could try.
We're the shot.
Well, mate, you should hear some of this other stuff we've shared on this podcast.
The one you saw me with, she's 47.
47.
And I'm 39, so
39.
I wouldn't go too.
well, if the listeners haven't worked it out, it was young Kayo. Kayo walked next to us.
That's right.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
I can't believe it. Even I know we just put two and two together when I walked in the door, and I was like, because I was like, I can't believe you remember me, which makes me realize that I must have stood out, and then it makes me think how many people were nice to you on that day. Hopefully, a lot more than me, because
That's a great point because you did stand out because. Well, I wasn't sure. I was like, gee, that bloke was really nice. Why did he say something? No one asked what we're doing.
Yeah.
Unless we approached them and said, hey, can we interview you for this?
And part of it too is you think, oh, I hope they don't think we're filming something we shouldn't be filming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're two blokes with a camera in the middle of the Kilda Festival.
Exactly.
On a hot day where there's not a lot of clothing going around.
Exactly.
we are working.
Personal footage for Pornhub
be
or something, or fans content,
Yeah.
That's it. So let's go back a little bit. Who were your musical influences growing up? Or even to this day?
Your typical ones. So hip hop and music has evolved and changed so much. Just like technology and everything. Back in the days in the 90s and the 2000s, just like technology, you'd have the group of things. You'd have like the one phone, the one Nokia. You'd have the one thing, and you just go through over the years, just moving with the times with the technology, right? So with music, it's the same thing. So I grew up listening to Tupac's. I mean, Tupac died when I was in year 7. I'm 39. Tupac died when I was in year 7, so he was still relevant when I was still in primary school. Your Snoop Dogg's, your Ice Cubes, Nas, Wu-Tang, which I loved, So my biggest influence was a lot of West Coast music, a lot of New York, East Coast music as well.
Okay.
And then as we progressed into the early to mid 2000s, 50 Cents, and just you kind of just evolved with what was happening. With this, so that was what I was really listening to when I was growing up. But mind you, in saying that, before I started really getting into hip hop, so when I was like a child, so when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8. I love the 80s music. I love the 90s, like even the 80s. Even to this day, as a grown man, my favorite era of music is the 80s.
And which artists from the 80s?
Oh, just
LL Cool J.
No, I'm talking like when I say 80s, not even hip hop or R&B, right. Not even that genre, just all music. Because it was just so fucking real.
Yeah.
the love songs. Like you hear a love song, you think that guy really got his
really
fucking heart broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the guy really got his like he probably really got his heart broken. When now it's like people are writing songs. I'm not saying
That
it's,
is so true.
Yeah.
like the music was so real,
Yeah.
Authentic.
as hell, right? So my favorite era of music, even to this day, is the 80s.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm gonna drop this song in a couple of months. It's an 80s beat, but it's a really upbeat dance kind of track, and it's gonna be fucking mental.
We'll be hanging out.
Well,
to
make
hear
sure,
it.
make sure you give us a little preview of that.
100%. So, and then as the years progress, like even now it's 2023, I just listen to any artists that are good, you know. Mostly still hip hop, R&B. Look, R&B doesn't really exist anymore.
What would be your definition of R&B, do you think?
Well, a lot of the rappers in this day and age, they're kind of singing.
Yeah.
If you hear a lot of the new rappers, they're still gangsters, they're still blah 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 talking about guns, but they're kind of singing it. But they're singing, rapping it, and it's a whole different genre of music. I don't even know where to put it. It's classified as hip hop, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear.
My favorite rapper is, I have to say, Kevin Gates. Have you heard of him?
No.
No.
It's not. I have to admit, it's not my number one genre of music, but
Yeah.
Yeah, he's and how he became my favorite rapper artist. I didn't hear his music first. I listened to his interviews.
Oh right,
And
okay.
and then his interviews are really intelligent. And then I started listening to his stuff, and I was like, it kind of makes sense. Like, you know,
sure.
But all types. This day and age, I just go with the flow. I listen to all types of music, hip hop, rap, kind of stuff. But then also, you know, other alternative kind of like stuff.
Yep.
Radio, top 40. You know, whatever's out really. So yeah, I mean, and then most of the time I just try to listen to music for relaxation. Sometimes I'll take a small percentage for my own kind of craft, but most of my craft and how I'm channeling my thoughts in like in regards to creation comes from within myself, because I'm trying to be original and have the originality going on. So I'm learning you got to tap into you really tap into your, because the biggest issue people have is sometimes always trying to copy other people.
I was going to ask, sorry to jump in, in that style of music, there's a lot of obviously sampling and things like that. How do you stay original? Like obviously it's not like picking up a guitar and you come up with a new riff or whatever. Like a lot of the beats are similar, or you're sampling other songs. How do you keep the originality going? Like it must be a really tough genre of music.
Yeah, you've got to just like I was just saying a minute ago, you've got to just really just seep down within yourself and just be like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. How I've always done it was just be witty with your lyrics and stuff and so forth. Your flow. Just you got to try and just like, you know, turn it around a bit and stuff. But if you think that sounds similar, the genre of music that I think sounds like they all sound the same is Aussie hip hop.
Yeah, okay.
That's my personal experience. I mean, I could hear 20 Aussie hip hop rappers, and for me, each of them will sound exactly the same. Which is and sorry if I've hurt anyone's feelings, but that's the reality. There's a couple of Aussie rappers that do sound different. When they come on, you can tell you listen to someone else. But what I'm trying to say is that like a lot of these young rappers that are coming up, and trust me, like I was there once. You know, if this is what helps you, you know, stay on a positive road and things like that, 100% do it. I'll never discredit anyone, you know, pushing their dreams. But I think a lot of people are getting caught up in this whole thing where they're like, oh, this is how you got to sound, so I'm just going to just do whatever. So people are going there blind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of rappers they're rapping and they're forking over all these money to their producers and that, but they all just sound the same. It's really weird. And I've been saying this for about probably 5-10 years now. I've been saying this for, but it is what it is. I tell you what I'm liking as well. Like the UK's come up in the hip hop scene,
Hasn't it? Yeah.
like it's blowing up because the UK originally. All their beats was like dance beats.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. It was really just like
Well, what's the famous nightclub over in the UK called? I had Ministry of Sound.
Oh yeah.
That's what it was.
That was it.
That was it, and
That's
it was
right.
that nightlife scene was all about Ministry of Sound. And I don't know if you remember Ministry of Sound bringing out albums. You know, every year they always
massive.
They were huge.
Yeah.
Ministry of Sound. There was Ministry of Sound Australia.
Yeah, there was.
I done some stuff for them when I was in Canberra. For one of the guys who was linked up with Timmy Trumpet, they paid me to do some sound voiceovers and some, you know, what's it called, like, you know, hype stuff on them for them and stuff in Canberra. So and I tried to do some stuff for them, but they wouldn't have a fucking bar of me. So because I actually it was at a time where it was like 2014 where I was like, there's no other rappers in Australia that are rapping over garage house music. And I would have emailed a shitload of people saying, let's work together. Because I had a vision. I was like, look, all I need is the right people around me to push it. Ministry of Sound didn't want to have a bar of it. The only person that wanted to have a bar of it was a Canberra producer, a Canberra DJ. And he ended up going, yeah, let's fucking do it. We released 4 tracks, kind of like garage house music, and it got on the Aria charts, like every single track.
Wow.
On the Aria club charts. So, and I can still do that. I still rap with hip hop tracks, but I can also still do the dance and house and garage stuff. Really cool, funky kind of stuff. But my sound's totally changed now as well. Like the stuff I've got coming out this year is like more harmonizing.
Okay.
So I'm
Love harmonies.
Love singing, rapping.
Yeah, Josh does.
And it took me a lot of time to kind of like work on it. I've probably still got a bit to go, but I think I'm close to having it perfect. But close enough where the song I'm going to drop in a couple of months is going to be fucking pretty good, I reckon. Yeah,
Can't wait.
It's going to be it's the fuck. Do you want to hear the beat?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah. God, it'd be great if we could connect it to the Bluetooth.
Let me fucking put it through this.
But it must be like, while you're getting that ready, like I always think of these artists that it doesn't matter which genre, but they cop it for changing their sound after, 5 or 8 years. And they're like, well, why would you expect a band to sound the exact same as they did 10 years ago? Like, how do they possibly evolve? And people say, oh, they've sold out. But
yeah, that's the term. They always say sold out.
But sometimes you understand that. But other times you're like, that's bullshit. Like, I would be bored staying the same for 10 years.
And the funny thing is, for the most part, these artists are doing it for themselves.
Exactly
it's
right.
Just so, because what people don't understand is that it's a misconception. What people don't actually understand is that one thing I've learned growing up over the years is that a lot of artists are fucked in the head. Let's be honest. Not fucked in the head, but a lot of artists, I won't say a lot of artists, but some artists,
there's some trauma.
There's fucking trauma that's come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, for them to do what they've done, it's come from them wanting to escape and just mentally get their shit right?
Yeah.
And however it comes out for them that makes them feel good, it comes out for them that makes them feel good. And some of their best music comes from pain and trauma. So, and it just so happens to be, coincidentally, the songs are fucking amazing, they're talented, and they become rich and famous.
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to then go, okay, I'm just going to keep doing the same shit if it doesn't sit right with me. So then they change it up. Because I've watched a couple of interviews of people who've said the same thing, like you guys just said, and they're like, oh, well, we're bored of making the same fucking shit.
Of course. I'd be saying, like, we talk about this all the time. We'd be bored talking about the same topic every fucking week on this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, we like, people say, oh, you should talk about one thing. We're like, we don't want to ask the same questions to every person.
Exactly. You guys ready to hear this?
Yeah, let's hear it. I'm keen. This is a Doss and D exclusive. Kayo in the house.
All right, ready for this? I'm not rapping. I'm just playing the beat.
That's okay.
That's
okay.
Go bottom of the iPhone. Is that what the speaker is? There you go. Oh, I like it.
I like it.
I do like this.
Reminds me of The Weeknd a bit.
Me too.
It's going to be a smash.
This sounds great.
This is going to be the biggest hit in Australia.
I want to get up and dance.
Me
Can someone
too.
get me a vodka lime and soda?
Our knees are moving.
Love it.
That's it. So
That is sick.
I've been working on that. That song is like, I've had it finished for about over 6 months.
Yeah.
And I've had obstacles and personal things pop up. But I'm sitting there going, it's all right. When it comes, it's going to be ready. So
Sounds freaking good.
When it comes to, like, say, putting the lyrics,
Yep.
The track over the top, right? Coming up with lyrics and you're writing. Can you talk to us about writer's block and how difficult? Like, what are you a person that sits down with a drink and lays everything out of his mind and his heart and puts it on paper, or does it come to you when you listen to the track? What's your process? And when you get writer's block, how do you get out of it?
Great
Okay.
question.
So when I first started doing the music, I used to write the lyrics first. And I did that for years. And I'd write the lyrics, and then I'll try and find a beat that matches the lyrics, and somehow through the grace of God, I'll make it work. And then as the years progressed, I was like, fuck, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing it wrong. But then I'm not doing it wrong because some people write the lyrics first. But what I did over the years, I started doing was I'll get the beat first, then I'd write to it. Now, sometimes I could write a verse in like an hour. I could have half the song done in like a couple of hours. Or sometimes I might be working on one verse for like a couple of days or a couple of weeks. I don't sit there and go, I want to allocate this time. It just comes and goes when it comes and goes. It's hard to explain. It's not as black and white as what people think it is. Maybe if you're doing the music full time and that's what you got to do, and you got to turn your body into like a music making machine, and you kind of have that time. But
well, you hear bands and artists, you're right, like that have a big profile, and they go, yeah, I'm gonna go and book out a beach hut in in Hawaii and just get it all done in 1 week.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
Exactly. And I'm self-diagnosed ADHD, so I get distracted easily, and because I'm doing I'm marketing myself, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing 10 things at once. So I'll start doing something, and then I'll be like a month later, I'm like, oh fuck, I got that fucking half song I started, I got to finish. But sometimes I can, like this song, for example, when I purchased the instrumental, the beat instrumental means the same thing. When I purchased the instrumental sounds a bit more professional.
Big orchestra.
When I purchased the instrumental, as soon as I heard it first, I was like, fuck me, I think I've just struck gold. And then I started writing the lyrics, usually because when you get an instrumental, like a beat like that, if it's put together properly and you listen to it from start to finish, you hear the intro, you hear the verse, then you hear where the chorus comes in or the hook, and you hear the different breakdowns of the track. So I used to purchase beats back in the day where it'd just be all fucking the same or just shit and just all over the shop. But a proper producer, when he makes a beat and gives it to you or to put out whatever, you can hear with your ears the breakup. You can just hear the breakup and breakdown of the beat where the chorus kicks in. When you're hearing the verse here, and then when the chorus kicks in, it's like you just boom, 16, 4, how many bars? 12 bars. Then it comes back down again. So when I bought that beat, before I bought it, I listened to it. I was like, this is perfect. And when I listened to the song, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I think I wrote and finished this song in about a week, because what I did was I took my time with it. I did the first verse. I've only got 2 verses and the chorus on this. I did 2 verses in the chorus, and then but then what I did was it was finished, and then over months I would just listen to it again. Like I'll rap it again in my head and again, and then add to it. So now in my brain, in my head, I know when I go to the studio, I want to put down the verse, and then I'm going to have other layers and other words I'm going to repeat at the end of the verses and stuff to make it more full and blah, blah, blah. So it's just everyone's different because everyone's brain is different and their thoughts and their ideas and their experiences are different. So I really can't say I could have probably 10 or 20 different scenarios how I've written songs. Sometimes I've been vacuuming the backyard, vacuuming the house or something, and something's just come to my head and I've gone, and sometimes melodies come in my head, or something will come in my head and I'll start rapping stuff and I'll write it in my phone where I think this melody in the verse is that worth of value. I'll then find it and add it to a song later on some point. So,
have you ever had anything in your sleep and had to wake up and write it down?
No, I haven't had that, but I didn't answer your question in regards to the writer's block. The answer to writer's block is when you get writer's block, you can't force it. You just have to let it go and just come back to it. Because what I find is, and to be honest with you, probably with some of my early music, when I had writer's block, it means I haven't got anything organically to put out. So anything I put out from the writer's block, it's not going to be organic. It's not going to be proper. And you'll be able to hear it when it comes out in the music. Some people may notice, some people may not. But when it comes out organically, where it's like it's flowing, it's coming from the emotions, coming from here, it's coming from here as well. If you'll feel better, it flows better, it means and feels better. So the answer to that, when I get writer's block, I just put it down. I'll start writing a verse, and then I'll get stuck, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll just leave it, and then I'll just catch it. So what I'll do is I'll wait a day or two, or whenever I feel like, and I'll just read it again, and then I'll just catch it. So like I'll be back in the thing, blah blah blah, and that's how a lot of artists write. If not all of them write their lyrics. They start writing it, maybe get halfway, they'll get writer's block, then they'll stop. But then in order for them to finish it, you got to go back and rap it again from the start a few times. You might have to, by the time that verse is done, you've probably sung it 20, 30 times to the point where by the time you record it in the studio, you don't even want to hear it again.
Yeah.
Which is true. So can you imagine these artists? See, they're recording these. The length of time it takes for them to put everything together. By the time that they do it, they've done it. They've rapped the song and listened to it and probably 100 times. And then you got to do tours. Like I just,
it's a smash hit. You have to play it every single night, or people go home disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
You get all those old artists that still get asked for that
Billy
one.
Joel, Piano Man, every time.
Yeah, bro. Like freaking like what's his name? Daryl
Braithwaite Horses.
Horses. It's like,
well,
but and I haven't got a hit song yet. But I'd rather have one than no hit song.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, it's like. And I'm sure that, and the sad thing is, they've probably got, the funny thing is, they've probably got like 23 other songs that they've worked hard for.
And they like them more,
They've sung their soul and heart out for, and we don't hear that shit. Fuck off, can't play that fucking song now.
Play Horses again.
Play Horses,
and play
bitch.
for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, now the women, and now the men.
The extended version.
I got it one night at the MCG. I went to a game, and he was there live, and he played it for about, I'm not kidding, it was about 12 minutes. But anyway,
Really?
And anyway.
And you loved it.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of that song, but anyway.
Yeah, so there you go.
When you look at your Instagram, you've obviously connected with some, like, we were talking real big names across the world and on multiple, I suppose, levels. Did you do some work with Mike Posner?
Did a track with him?
Yeah, so tell us a little bit.
2000 and...
How did that come about, and tell us about that experience?
I just reached out to his management, because what I used to do is it's a little trick that I used to do is I used to always say, if you can't reach, because social media is 6 degrees of separation.
Yep.
So
100%.
So the reality is, every celebrity that we love and is on Instagram, right? It's just a matter of them if they want to reach out back to you or not. I don't fucking know, but I ended up reaching out. I had a method of what I used to do. I used to look at a lot of the artists who I was following on, and I'll look at like their management team or whoever, and I'll just reach out to them and go, hey, blah blah blah. So that's how I worked with him. I never met him. I just reached out to him, paid a small fee, and then got the track, and the rest is history. And I try to do the same thing with I did a song with Ty Dolla $ign as well. I just, you pay a small fee, and then whatever the fee may be, and then you get they record their vocals and send it over, and so forth. Snoop Dogg cost $250,000, so I couldn't afford him. Yeah, so
Snoop?
$250,000. Yeah, I missed the concert. Fuck, I'm pissed.
I was gonna say, if it was a smash hit, you might have got up and Rod Laver a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, I know. So, but that's how I did that, man. And I'm on my phone a lot. I'm promoting a lot, and I've noticed from just reaching out to so many people all the time that it's just a lot of people are scared to reach out to people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like a lot of people are scared to be told no, and I don't understand why. Like, not everyone's gonna say yes. Not everyone's gonna fucking like you. I've been told more no's than yeses, but it's those yeses that have got me to be able to go a little bit above.
Of course.
We've got a saying, and my dad used to always tell me when I was a kid, which was, we say it to ourselves all the time: the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you're not making any noise, you're not going to get that oil.
Yeah.
For us, like, if we want a certain person, if we want them, well, we have to, like you said, the 6 degrees of separation. Who do we know that knows them, that knows them, that knows them? Like, it's possible. And I think so many people, they just assume that the only way is like an Instagram DM, and if they don't reply to you individually, that's the only way.
Exactly.
Like, you know better than anyone. Like, you've worked hard to go, all right, no, they might not reply, but I know I'm going to find out who the management team is, and then go on LinkedIn or Facebook and find, like...
Exactly. Yeah. And also the other thing is, it's a numbers game, so just copy and paste. Write a generic introduction. Hey, my name is blah, 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 that's what I'm doing. And just take like half an hour. It only takes like half an hour max, half an hour, and just inbox 100 people. You're going to get someone.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's actually, I find it really like exciting.
Yeah.
Because you wait for what's going to come back.
100%.
It's like fishing, you know what you're going to fucking get. And that's just how it is.
Well, Dawson D came back.
It's so true. Like we do that. We actually schedule time. We'll just say right now, we don't necessarily copy and paste. We like to personalize the messages, but we do sit down. We schedule time to sit down. Like tomorrow, we've got a lot of time to sit down, and we've got a huge list of people. And then we've now we've literally just come up with a system of, okay, here's our top 3 ways to approach, and and then beyond that, we'll work out the next system. But if that doesn't work, all right, this is the next step. And if that doesn't work, here's the next step. And exactly what Dos said earlier. Like, we just got to be persistent and go and go and go. And in the caper in the entertainment, in any industry, when it comes to social media, like you said, you're that close, and
So close, bro.
and you just don't know. It could be like anything. Could be the next song, could be the next podcast, it could be the next video clip that blows any of us up.
Exactly.
And it's
Can you talk a bit about maybe? I know like Kayo Marbilus is your stage name, and that's who you are as an artist, but. Maybe do you want to quickly share, if you're open to it, like where you've come from in Ghana and a bit of your journey to coming to Australia and your upbringing and I guess what's really behind you, but and ultimately behind the music too.
For sure. Well, I was born in Ghana, but I came in when I was 2.
Yeah.
So I got 3 older siblings, 3 older sisters. They're a bit older than me, but I came to Australia when I was 2. So I think maybe what's the term? In my roots, like probably like not what's the term? I'm trying to think of the fucking word. It's in my DNA to probably have rhythm, to probably do the music stuff. I guess I wasn't raised with any kind of musical influence with my parents. It was all just me. I think I don't know. It's hard to what do I say? I came to Australia being a first generation African person, so. I think part of me doing the music 100% was it was an escape. I was angry. I used to get into fights and blah, blah, blah. Probably a little bit of trauma from when I was a child for a few things that happened at school and things like that. But as I got older, it was more other things as well in regards to just like, fuck, I got to really do something with myself. So in regards to like finding, it probably would have been sports or something like that. I don't fucking know. But so I came here when I was 2. I came in December 85 when I was 2. And I don't know. I'm a bit stuck on this. I don't know why.
Well, did you deal with when like being obviously with your upbringing in school, and you said you dealt with potential fights and
cop
things like that.
racism at a really young age. So I cop racism at like the earliest, and I think this is, I've actually spoke about this before on the Warwick Kappa show. Shout out to Warwick Kappa, but I'll say it again. As early as when I was like 7, like probably like 6. And my earliest remembering of like just like a fucking violent world was like when I was 6 years old, right? I would have been year 1, year 2. I think year 1. And I was walking home from school and these kids were fucking throwing rocks at me, right? Wow. When I tell this story, people are like, fuck. But it's like, it is what it is, right? But, and then I think me, I don't remember because I was so young if I told my parents or not, but all I remember was like, over the years, I was like, fuck, like, no one's going to, like, if you want, you got to do your shit yourself. You got to handle your shit yourself, right? So that was the earliest times. And so I was more, I think I'm a little bit, not traumatized, but I got a bit more of not PTSD, but it was more of a concern being at that age. When you're 6, 7 years old, you really can't, you're a kid. Yeah. And these kids were like probably year 6, right? But as I got through high school, I was getting into fights, but I wasn't getting into fights. This is where it makes it funny. When I got to high school, I wasn't getting into fights because I was black. I was getting into fights because it's who I am as a person, just being like, just talking like this, being like boisterous, right? So me getting into fights when I was in high school, I understand why, because I wasn't rude or just disrespectful to people. I was just being me, but people don't like that. When you have other kids that are probably insecure or going through whatever the fuck they're going through at home, and they see this other kid who's like, got energy, he's got confidence. It makes them feel a certain way. So that's what makes me realize how I was able to progress and do what I do with the music, because it all makes fucking sense. It was all part of my journey to be that kind of person. So the high school stuff wasn't much of a big deal. That was because when you're a young man, you're 13, 14, you can hold yourself in a certain way. And things are more understandable and you can kind of like protect yourself and hold your own. But so coming to Australia in 85 and being a first generation African in Australia, it was full on. But it made me who I am. Yeah. You know, I mean, I have no regrets. I always say to myself, if I didn't go through those things as a young person, there'd be no Kayo Marbilus. Because ideally, realistically, the music was those things I went through was what really made me want to like, it kind of kept me distracted, I guess. And shaped me who I am. So I would have been just some fucking boring person working a 9 to 5 in an office. No offense if you guys do that. But
we don't know.
But I also work doing other things as well. I work in community. I work in community service. I do youth work. So I've never worked in an office job. But that's the kind of, and I guess the funny thing is how the universe works is that it will give you certain tough certain objects and certain obstacles and challenges in front of you that you have to go through, so you can get to this point and do this. Because you need to go through it for it to kind of like program your mind to go a different path.
Definitely.
And that's how I'm seeing it. That's how, as I'm getting older, I'm like, it is what it is. I mean, fuck, man, we moved to Australia and we could have moved anywhere. Like my mum comes from a family of 10 brothers and sisters, and I got cousins in America, I got cousins in the UK, I got cousins in London, UK, Holland, Germany. I haven't got any blood cousins in Australia. And I always say to myself, out of all the countries I could have moved to, Australia's probably the safest country. Because America, if I'd gone to America's fucked up, let's be honest. UK, Australia's the safest country in the world. One of, anyway.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of the safest countries. I'm sure there's like Sweden or one of Denmark. I think one of those countries.
One of the expensive ones.
Yeah, they're safe. I think Germany or Denmark, one of those places, you get free fucking university.
Yeah.
So, one of those countries is up there. But apart from that, Australia's like the most luckiest place. So I always think it could have always been worse in life, and in any country, in any culture, when you're a minority, there's always gonna be shit going on anyway. So, I know the Italians and Greeks got it here, the Asians got it here, the Arabs, everyone goes through
Everybody,
it. Everyone goes through it. Even if you're like a white person living in Africa, not Africa, living in Italy, you become the minority. Yeah. So it's within us as the human race, it's human nature for us to always be divided and stuff like that. So it doesn't really fucking matter.
My grandparents took the brunt for me and my sisters. And
what nationality are you?
Well, my grandparents from Latvia.
Okay.
So they escaped World War II.
Yeah.
But my dad's side's English, but they copped it hard when they first moved to Melbourne.
Yeah.
It's hard because we hear about it, we listen, but we've never been a minority, so we don't really know.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we can only, and it's interesting, especially hearing from an African's perspective, because it's when we were going through our teenage years, that was the minority group that was copping the real heat, and I don't know why. I don't know. There was just a lot of negative press about it, and it's just interesting how it initially shapes your mind, because you don't sit here and go, you don't ever think of yourself as a racist person, but you realize that you can be programmed into thinking a certain way by the media, and then it takes a while to actually get deprogrammed out of that kind of thing. 100%. I hope that doesn't sound like...
No, it doesn't.
No, 100%. It makes sense. If you're getting shown that a certain group of people are doing certain things constantly, when you see those people in the street, you're gonna be fucking. Oh, should I be worried? Should I be careful? Not realizing that it's actually a small percentage doing it,
of course,
and then the majority of the community within that community are like 80% doing the right thing. They've got to cop it as well now too, because they're hardworking people.
That's exactly who I always feel for.
And it's fucked, man. It's really
that's
really
who
fucked
I really
up.
feel for. Yeah,
and that's like in any culture. It's like not everyone gets painted the same. What do you fucking call it? Painted the same brush. What do the fuck they call it? Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
we all have to make the bed we sleep in.
Exactly, exactly. So, that's the sad thing about that is something happens and then you got people who weren't racist and all of a sudden are racist, and it's true about the media. The media's fucked. I mean, a lot of the stuff that because we're only watching what they're showing us.
That's
so
right.
The reality is like they just cut and paste and blah 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 and
do you think? And this was going to be my next question. It's more around. I think the media, and we all know, we know this, and that's why we started the podcast. Mm-hmm. But do you find that so many people, they will start something and they will stop it? Like they might have a dream or a goal or something they really want to do, whether it's this podcast or become something in the music industry. Yeah. But the media and society tells them no because it's not okay and it's not because it's not coming quick. Like you're a perfect example of it takes time and it takes long. Do you think that? There are so many people out there, especially here in Australia, that they just
puppy syndrome.
Well, yeah, like that.
It's real, yeah. The media, I wouldn't say is such. I think the media's got such a real broad projection of stuff where you have got control to kind of just shut it off and just. There's so much going on in the media, and more importantly, in this day and age, social media is bigger than the media on TV. So you can look for influences and be more positive by looking at podcasts and certain things and be more influenced than negative. I think what fucks people up when they're growing up, wanting to focus on their dreams and really going through that journey is and I've heard this before, it's very powerful. It's the people that are closest to you that are gonna say, "Oh, bro, you sure?" Because what we are programmed to do is to think and know that our friends love us, our parents love us, they want the best for us, and they genuinely do. But because your dreams are so fucking big and so far, and it's so big what you want to do, and it's not in them to want to have that mechanical machine to like progress and do big things. They think them telling you, oh, maybe you should do something. They think they're actually looking after you because they love you, but they're actually doing the opposite. So then it kind of tricks you to think, maybe I should fucking stop. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing because mum and dad say, oh, my best mate with them for 20 years is like, 10 years is like fucking, bagging me out all the time. But the reality is that, yeah, it's those people around you that are going to block your vision. And I had all that. I had all that. Close people, haters, everyone just fucking shitting on me. But I was just like, how the fuck? I would always be like, but how the fuck do you know it's not going to happen? Like, this is what I'd say. Like, how do you know? And then what would happen is another thing I learned at a young age when I started doing this music stuff was if I started getting haters, like people hating on me online, I would say to myself, well, I don't even know you. Never met you, never spoke to you before. I haven't done anything to you personally, so you're just fucking jealous. That's the only reality. And I knew that was in my brain at an early time when I started, because I copped a lot of haters, I copped a lot of hate, had a lot of online hate, really nasty shit, man, like a lot of fucked up shit. Yeah, a lot of things happen in Canberra. Like I'll tell you one story.
It's horrible.
When that CD launch I told you about, the ANU bar. So what had happened was I didn't know there was like a Aussie hip hop, urban hip hop kind of like clash going on. I just was like, I'm from Canberra. I just want to get all these rappers together and we can just fucking do some stuff. And the producer I was working with at the time, and I was still kind of new into the scene. And it was, I started putting out music in 2004, but I wasn't putting out like a lot. I might have put out like a couple of tracks in 2004 and then didn't put out anything for like 3 years because I'm still at school. I'm still working. I'm still doing whatever. So 2007, I just worked on that 19, 20 track mixtape. And as I'm working on that mixtape for like 6 months or whatever it was, I'm working with this producer and I'm just learning, right? And he's like, oh, I can get this artist on your thing. So I had a couple of artists that he knew feature on my mixtape. And then when it came around to the launch, he's like, you should get, it's actually come back to me so clear as day. He goes, you should get this Canberra group to open at your launch because it'll work really good for them. Like, yeah, sure, why not? They get to perform, blah, blah, blah.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win situation, right? They said to him, we'll do it. They said, we'll do it. No worries. Yeah, we'll do it. Got the flyers made up. And then last minute, they're like, we're not performing on his thing anymore. And he asked them why. And he said, oh, because something to do with, or if we perform at Kayo's CD launch, it's going to discredit, we're going to lose respect. And I'm looking back on it now. There was no reason. It's just people are just fucking haters. People are just fucking their own ways, right? Yeah. After that happened and, they didn't want to perform anymore, I used to go on this Aussie hip hop forum, right? And I was on there promoting my stuff and everyone jumped, like, I'm talking like fucking 100 people, bro, jumped on there. Fuck, and he goes, oh, I heard Kayo Marbilus puts artists on a flyer of people performing. They haven't even agreed to it. And I'm thinking to myself, who the fuck will do that? Yeah. Like, that is so, like, that just sounds so dumb. Like, let's say when I say, you guys are going to come to my show and be your host judges. And I've even asked you, and I put your names in the flyers. So that happened, right? And then while this was happening, my name was getting, this is at the start when I'm really making noise. I've just spent $8 grand on this CD. I'm really starting to push my dreams. And what I'm trying to get at with this story was, at this point there was definitely a point where I could have been like, oh, I can't fucking do this. This is too stressful. But I had so many people like hating on me, right? And the guys that cancelled and said they didn't want to do it, not one of them had the balls as a young man to say, look, that's not what happened. We actually cancelled. And they just let my fucking name run through the fucking dirt. But what happened was, because I was so hungry for this dream and I was just like, fuck it, didn't make a difference. I kept on fucking going. And that moment of time taught me moving on was the stuff I've gone through in my personal life is more deep than the music. Yeah. And I used to always be like, first I'm a man of God, then I'm a man, then it's the music. So anything that happens with the music, I can just handle it. So as the years progressed, I got haters, I got this, but it just made me fucking stronger. And I just laughed about it because I was like, well, you're going to get haters. And the more you progress and the more you do, people are going to get jealous. And that's how I did it. So with that, I didn't let anyone say, my parents didn't want me to do it. My parents thought I wasted my money. Like, some of my friends were hating on me. Like, fuck, it was just, I copped the whole thing and I kept on going.
It's amazing.
So that's the story with that.
Well, we actually always say that, like, haters is a great measuring tool. Like, when you're copping hate, you know that you're succeeding. Like, 100%. The more hate you get, that's almost like which sucks. And
we welcome it.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't handle that, especially when you're starting, because no one wants to cop hate. But you realize it's, and we actually always say, and you've mentioned this a few times, but when things happen, let's put this in the podcast perspective. When shit happens here, which it all occasionally it happens, like
bad stuff.
You realize it hasn't been recording, or a camera, or something blows up, or you know. And we just say, all right, we're being tested, and the test is, how bad do you want it? Exactly. How bad do you want it? That's just what we're being asked. How bad do you want it? We're like,
the universe is telling us.
Yeah, we're like, we fucking want it. So and that's just an analogy we use. But mate, I've had an absolute blast.
I appreciate it.
What maybe share? I know you showed us that lovely track.
Oh, you're right.
So what's coming up for you? Quickly share with us. You know where can everyone follow you?
Yep.
Whether it's they want to listen to your music, but even your personality. You're big on social media. Share that and
sure. So Instagram Kayo_Marbilus. I'm on Facebook as well. Music is on all digital streaming download sites. Over 32 digital streaming download sites. And got a new song coming out in a couple of months. I'm going to be banging out some new tracks. Everything you guys are hearing now, past and present, is all going to be different. What's coming out now. Enjoy the music. If you do watch this podcast, jump on my Instagram, say hello. I always write back and respond. And much respect to these boys doing their thing, because they're make sure you keep following these boys, because they're onto big things 2023.
Thanks, Kayo.
Maybe you can. Maybe we might be. It might be time for a new theme song for the Dos and D show. We've had the same one for 3 years. Maybe that could be the challenge. We might come and produce a new Dos and D theme with you. But
there you go.
Kayo, mate, it's been, honestly, I've had an absolute blast. Sometimes with guests, you don't know exactly what you're going to get. You don't know which way the conversation's going to go. This surprised me, the different directions we've gone, but I've loved it. So, mate, we're going to stay in touch. I want to stay connected with you. I want to hang out with you outside of all this kind of stuff.
I'm only around the corner, so
we'll bring a slab of helping humans with us.
Yeah, that's it.
But thank you so much for coming.
All good, boys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kayo.
Thank you. Peace.